Okay, fantastic. All right, so this is a tutorial video, and it's for Reza in regards to a sales discussion about a prospect looking for a property appraisal. Is that correct, Reza?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, fantastic. So let me do the first thing, which is, could I ask that you simply reshare your screen, but then use the option on Discord for higher text visibility, okay? Because right now when you're sharing your screen, it's a little bit blurry, and this is something that would benefit a lot if we could see the text a little bit more clearly, okay? Do you know how to do that, Reza?
So this was
Sure. I'll wait for you to get that ready.
answer.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit better for some strange. Patrick Clancy. Oh, wow, I know Patrick Clancy. Wow, that is crazy. I know Patrick Clancy. Patrick and I used to work at the same company together. Okay, fantastic. Let's do this then, yeah? So let's back out again and go ahead, Reza. You're gonna bring me to the very beginning of this discussion, okay?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
Okay, beginning of the discussion.
excellent. Okay, what I'll do is I'll capture this and I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to label this for you so that you can see the strategy behind what's happening here, okay? And that's important because otherwise it becomes challenging to figure out what's going on. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to go and do this. Okay, perfect. Give me a second here. And over here. Okay.
Honestly, I was sorry if I'm a bit lacking some because I do the scraping parallel, so it's take more resource.
No worries.
Yes.
No, you don't need to apologize to me. You're doing fine. Okay, so you're good. Okay, let's do this then. Okay, so I'm gonna shrink. All right, so hopefully that. Okay, let's begin over here. So this person comes in on. Let's make some notes over here. Okay, can you see my notes as I draw? 18th of September, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so 18th of September, and this is his first question about property valuation. Okay, so this is good. Everything is all
Yes.
good at this point. No problem so far. Okay, the first engagement is okay. There's no problems with the first engagement. Let's take a look. I know there's no problems with the first engagement, Reza, because there's a second engagement. So I didn't even need to read inside the package. If there's a second engagement, then the first engagement is working. Okay. What it means is that you have earned trust. Okay. So whatever it is that you've done so far, you are S2 compliant. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so this is good. And this is already positive. So this is a check. All right. Seminyak. Okay, good. Okay, this is where you're starting to fade. Okay. This is where you're beginning to fade. And okay, no conflict of interest. Of course not, because we do not sell. Okay, good. This is good. No property sales. Pretty good. Okay. This is a point of improvement here, Reza, because you do mention Bali,
Yes.
and Seminyak is inside Bali, right? Okay.
Yes.
So Booty should be, as much as possible, self-referential. Does that make sense? So Booty should know if Booty's already answered the question. Otherwise, what happens is that we keep on taking more risk on, saying whatever, right? So Booty can properly say, well, seems like Seminyak is also in Bali, so yes, of course it's covered. Okay. All right. So this is good. So far, so good. Okay. So that's my only point of improvement, that self-referential is key. Okay. A lot of trust also, and this is for the record on the recording. Most trust is built on, we've already told you that in the very beginning. Like I said in the beginning, like I said in the beginning, okay? Because what it does is it shows that you're consistent and it shows that you are not changing narrative depending upon new things that are emerging, okay? That really reinforces trust to anybody who thinks logically. Like I said in the beginning, we do this and we do this and we do this, okay? Seminyak, yes, Seminyak is part of Bali. So yes, that is what I just said. So you can improve and move forward with your trust by being self-referential. You refer back to things that you said in the very beginning. Okay, that's good. Okay, so that's stage one. I'm going to now move to your stage two. Okay, so let's have you scroll down a little bit and I will gather the next discussion and tell you where we are. Okay, good, good. Okay, very good. And I'm going to copy that. Okay, all right. So here's some more trust building here. Let's go over here. Okay, now on the second part of this, let's take a look. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, so far you're doing good. So far you're doing excellent, by the way. You've gotten more trust than anywhere before. S2, S2, S2. Okay, very good, very good. So this also is good. This is excellent. Okay, the owners are French. Thank you. Just to clarify, legal names of all the owners. Okay, okay. This is probably suboptimal, right? Over here. You're creating a conflict that doesn't need to be a conflict, okay? So this is unnecessary screening. You don't really need to have the name of the owners in order to actually, what do you call that? You don't need to have any of the owners to do valuation, okay? And also, you can be sure this is a failure of logic on Booty. If this person is a buyer, you can be sure they don't know the name of the owner, okay? And that's a failure of logic. Does that make sense? Okay. But why is it a failure of logic, Reza?
Because what you said before, so the surveilling like audio, please send the bullet. This is the failure of to understanding the content of the message. I think.
Okay. No. So this is a simple common sense failure. Okay. So we can call this. Let's call this. There's two failure points here. It's probably the greater failure is a failure of common sense, and then the second failure is a. Okay, let's do it this way, right? So number one, this is a failure of common sense. And the second failure is it's an unnecessary question and restriction. I would call this a blocking question as what we normally call it, okay? A blocking question is a question that only inhibits the actual progression of the deal, that doesn't actually add any value, okay? So this is generally, if it was a junior salesperson, it's clumsiness, okay? The reason why it fails the common sense test is because no buyer would ever be given the name of the seller of a property if there's an agent in between. Because the agent would have to be the dumbest agent in the world to reveal the name of the seller before they have actually gotten a deal. Because if you do, then simply the buyer would go to the seller and say, let me buy this direct from you because then we cannot pay the agent in between, right? And then the agent would have listed the property, put everything up in vain, okay? So you can be sure that that is a nonsensical question to ask, okay, according to any sort of business common sense. So that, don't ask that again, okay? Remove that from the corpus of questions to ask. It's unnecessary, okay? The second reason is you don't need the name of the seller in order to actually, yes, you don't need it for the evaluation, and you don't need to know the name of the seller to avoid a conflict of interest, okay? Now, the only possibility that I think Booty is going through is to make sure that the seller is not somebody whom we represent. But we should already know that by the name of the property, okay? So that could be the only, let's say, situation where there could be a potential conflict of interest. We happen to know the seller, and so we cannot give you a fair thing, okay? All right, so that's the main failure point here, okay? But as you can see, this is hard to do correctly each time because this is a special case, right? Okay, so okay, so right now, I would say your S2 is getting weak now, okay? But they're still here. They're still here, which is a good sign, okay? Because that alone to a very sensitive buyer would have already triggered the response, why do you need the seller's name in order to give an evaluation? If Booty was not able to reply that we just need to quickly check that if that seller is not one of our current property owners, okay, then if Booty said anything except that, trust would have been lost. You understand? Okay, all right. So that's why that part is important because it's sensitive to that. Okay. All right. Okay. Here, good. You reported the rates. That's ah, and then again the legal name again. That's really stupid, right? So again, the legal name again is breaking the trust down each time. Okay, that really needs to stop, right? What is the whatever's causing me to keep on asking for the legal name is really breaking down the trust. Okay, this person should have left by now. To be honest, this person would have been, why do you keep on asking for the seller's name? Okay, it's unnecessary. So the fact that they still are remaining only indicates that they need this pretty urgently. Okay, all right. So then let's go to the next stage. What is the valuation cost? Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So then the next phase. Okay, good. Okay. Now this is getting annoying because we're unable to, okay, now this is just being annoying, right? So we're not reading any conclusion. Okay, all right. So this is where we are, okay, 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 let's keep on going. The same issue, same issue. Send me one email, I can forward to the owners as separate. Okay, all right, okay. Okay, no. Okay, all right, this is it. Okay, this is where I have to call the person, okay? So let's go ahead and make the phone call and try to resolve it using another way. Okay, I'm gonna go and log into Booty, Shane. Okay, okay, so let's give Shane a call, see if this works any better, okay? Hello, this is Jane from Boogie Vista. I'm calling to speak with, are you Shane?
Hey, Jake, how's things, mate?
Hi, very good, Shane. All right. Shane, do we know each other? That response sounded like you were familiar with me. Oh, okay. All right, fantastic. So Shane, here's the problem. So the AI agent is caught into a loop, and I'll try to get you out of the loop, right? So what it's trying to do is to understand if the owner is an owner that we currently manage a property for, right? So that's why it keeps on asking you about what's the legal name. But I caught it. You probably don't know the name of the actual owner, right? Because if you did, then you probably don't need a real estate agent to help you secure the deal. So, oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. In that case, then I'll take a look at the email, my guy Riza here, and just make. I don't think so. We don't represent that property at the moment, so that should be that. It's just doing a double check because some owners own multiple properties, so then we don't want to be like, oh yeah, that's one of our properties, right? So then if we accidentally give, let's say, the valuation, that would become a little bit weird. Okay, so the strategy here is we're going to basically ask for the performance records of the property in terms of what it's been able to produce, in terms of receipts that it's gotten, right? I happen to know Patrick Clancy as well. So Patrick, I guess he was a colleague of mine back in the day when I used to work at Exotic. I see he's still in the real estate game. And Patrick's a pretty fair straight shooter as such. So I've had no issues with Patrick in the past. So that part should be okay. Um, yeah, Patrick. Well, real estate agents, they sometimes, I don't know. Sometimes, it depends on also how urgently they need money too as well. But as like a reputation, I've never seen any sort of dubious dealings with Patrick. So that part. There's two sort of angles to approach the valuation on this. The first angle is fairly straightforward. If the owner can produce, let's say, a receipt of the sales and operational records, then you're basically, Shane, purchasing it as a business. So you have a knowledge of what the business can produce, and you can give a business value to that plus whatever you want to add. Okay, so that's on that side. Ultimately, I think I said this last time as well. If the owner is not selling this to you as a business, right, then this whole thing is somewhat of it's a moot point, right? Because French people especially, sir, French people especially might think of their property as a dear, valuable object that has sentimental value and some sort of, whatever it might be. And so this would be my strategy. Okay, so the number one sort of approach is go in and say, if you want to make this deal fast and get this done quickly, show me the business records. I just need to know that if I'm buying this, I'm buying a racehorse. I'm buying something that actually can produce some sort of return on investment. You have until 7 days to let me know about that. Otherwise, I will just try to estimate based on my team over what the estimated cash value would be. That sets the clock ticking on their side, right? So they have to make a decision. If they don't get back to you in 7 days, for whatever reason, 7 days should be more than enough to be able to compile the business receipts and records, especially if they have been operating as a business, and forward it to you for examination. If, let's say, they don't comply with that, if they don't actually give you any records back, then pretty much you already got two signals. One, they probably don't want you to perceive it as a business, and number two, maybe they don't even know where it is, right? Which is of deeper concern, because then you're going to have to find out where these records are if they even exist later on. Okay, which then makes you also branch at that point to a decision point, right? So if the owner does not want to actually go and proceed to sell this as a business, we'll produce an appraisal for you nonetheless, right? We just need to kind of take a look at the property. We can take a look at the residual number of reviews it has, estimate the bookings, understand the booking patterns within that area, and we can kind of look at the most recent prices and estimate what the seasonal variance is on that. Okay, so we can kind of paint a picture for what it's likely to make based on business value. So we can give you that piece of information, and you can go back and say, well, based on this valuation, this is probably all that it's worth. Okay, now this can then reveal the actual numbers. Okay, so if the actual number is higher, great. now you've got them to produce it. But if they do go and say, well, go to hell, I think whatever, then you can come back and renegotiate with them on, I believe it's a leasehold. So then you then take a look at the remaining years, and that then becomes your argument for why the remaining years and time is worth as much as they think it's worth, or it's worth less than what they think it's worth, right? So yeah, do remember, Shane, that in this deal you are buying a block of time. You're essentially buying the calendar dates on the remaining lease. But unless they agree that that's the metric in which they are transacting with you, which is the correct metric in my opinion, then it is whatever it is. If it's based on sentimental value, I would just cut short any discussion like that. I'm not here to buy any sentimental value. I'm not here to buy any sort of, whatever. If you're selling it, then you can keep it if it means that much to you as well. But obviously, I'm buying the remaining years of your lease, and I just need to make sure that those years are still worth what it's worth, because you can still wait and wait for the next person. But that's how I'd approach this negotiation. I hope you
Yeah,
get something. Yeah.
definitely after following what you just suggested, actually. So
Okay.
my understanding is they are selling it as a business, but you never know like till it's done.
Well, a lot of our French partners, they're sort of like they're sort of like feast and famine types. So what I've noticed
Yep.
is that during the fat years, they will feast and they'll buy a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and then when they reach famine years, they'll become very stingy all of a sudden, right? But there's also this in as a wolf. You've probably seen this as an Aussie too. There's this huge amount of pride that can be difficult to overcome, not being practical, but being driven more by like their esteem and ego, whatever that is. So they might not want to devolve into, let's say, a business discussion. They might also try to say, well, if you're not of the right budget, then we'll wait for another person. But then you can just laugh at them and say, well, there's another 10,000, there's another 100,000 people out there. So here's the other people I'm going to approach. If whatever, if my money is not good enough here, then you can keep it, right? If you like it so much. So I think that's basically the approach. So that's the logic and also culture part, and I think that strategy can get you in. And like I said, if you get in at a better value, then your return on investment is pretty much locked in from day zero. So whatever we can do to help. Okay, so the name is not that necessary, but the we just need to know approximately. If they have a listing on Airbnb or Booking.com, that should be enough. If we can see the listing, then we will know how to value the approximate values. We'll give you the first sort of bargaining chip, and then I'm just advising on how you can use that bargaining chip to gain a benefit. Okay, and so please think of us for management. I'm giving you this for free, right? I'm going to help you save some money, but yeah, give it to us later if you do want to gain the most benefit from this. I'll tell you the selfish reason why I'm doing this, Shane. I need to correct the market. I can't correct the market right now if everyone keeps on entering too high of a value. There's no return on investment, right? And people just okay. So if you succeed, then basically you can set precedent for what actual transaction prices are, and hopefully more people follow that right now, because right now there's a lot of fluff in the market. So okay. Reza here is our AI engineer. He's also in on the call too as well, so that he can understand some of the context that we. I hope to make it easier for more people like yourselves to receive value. Oh, Shane, but here's another helpful tip. Have you seen Rory's video on YouTube?
Not sure.
Oh, you definitely need to watch it. You definitely need to watch it. Rory was one of our clients. He's an Aussie bloke, and he came in about a year ago. He did really, really well. So Rory came in. He basically bought his own land or leased his own land and built his own property. He did it all within, I think, about 250, 300 Australian, even less, I think. And he was able to sell it for about 600 within a year. We managed it for about a year until he found a buyer and sold it. But what he did, which is very helpful for you too as well, is he did a documentary on all the prices and cost and everything for understanding what each component is, and it's up on YouTube. And he interviewed. It's called Rory and Casey, and it's probably the _1 video on YouTube for how to build a villa in Bali. So if you search for that, you can also show that to Patrick and yourself. Rory and Casey, so RY, and Casey is his Casey is Casey. And he's kind of like a regular Australian. Loves drinking beer, loves bonfire. He was a pharmacist that turned into a wedding videographer, and then he turned into a YouTuber. And then he came to Bali in 2000, I think 22, got some land in Bingen and built his own villa as sort of a passion project. And he did fairly well. He exited, like we were very happy to help him, and he was very generous by putting us on YouTube as well and got us kind of passionate about making content. So you can use that video as a benchmark, because I think now that that's common knowledge what the actual cost of building a property, that might be helpful for any negotiations too as well, to set that as a common benchmark. Yeah. I'll
As soon as I get off.
Sure. Okay. Okay, that's pretty much it. So I'll work with Reza here to pass the details. Do we have the listing? If we have the listing, we can get started pretty much right away, Shane. On where the property is being marked. If you have the listing, if not, wait, let me see if I can be more helpful. Let's see. Oh, it does. Okay. Okay, that's fantastic then. Okay, so we'll check our email then, and we'll contact you back, Shane, if there's anything missing. Sound good?
Okay, perfect.
All right. Have a nice day. All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.